For the first time in what feels like years, Pikachu has finally won a major tournament. Well, technically it's not a major tournament, but it had like 300 people and it was very stacked, so I'd say this is still very impressive to see. In case you missed it, the longtime Pikachu main, ShinyMark, ended up winning Diamond Dust, having to go through a bunch of really good players. He ended up beating MK Leo, MK Big Boss, Shattuck, and Onin. And some of those sets were not even really close, to be honest. Even though the tournament was only like 300 people, there were a lot of really good players. You know, aside from the ones that I already listed, we also had DeBuzz there, Riddles, Neo, and Cosmos. Obviously none of them got to fight ShinyMark, but they were still there, and some of them kind of underperformed, some of them kind of just, lost. So we didn't get to see ShinyMark play against all of them, but still got some impressive wins. Now this was a pretty interesting tournament for multiple reasons, but one of the main reasons is because of just all the unexpected upsets. I feel like at all these like kind of smaller regional events, top players kind of end up exactly where you would expect them to, somewhere in top 8. But we saw some stuff that we usually never see, like DeBuzz losing before top 48 to somebody that like he probably wouldn't usually lose to. And then we also just saw some other matchups in general, which were, pretty big surprises in my opinion. Another thing that I found very interesting was Leo's choice to mainly go Roy this tournament. He didn't really play anybody else besides, I think, Joker in top 8 for one of his games. But for the most part, every time I turned on the stream, he was playing Roy. And I know a few weeks ago, like on Twitter, he was kind of making a post about a new sword character, having people guess what character he was going to play, whatever character he was learning. I think Roy makes a lot of sense. I think Roy is a really good character, and I mean, I feel like MK Leo could really play any character that he wanted to. So I think it's a good thing for him. I think just keep the game fresh. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Overall, his Roy did pretty well, and whenever he did play against ShinyMark, it was a pretty close set. And even though he lost, he ended up making a pretty deep losers run, I would say. I think he ultimately got 5th place, I believe. And yeah, I mean, I think it was still impressive. Actually, never mind. He actually got 7th place, now that I remember correctly. Yeah, MK Leo got 7th, not 5th. But either way, like I said, I think his set was really close with ShinyMark, and it kind of went back and forth. ShinyMark, did have a chance to pick up some early kills. Obviously, Pikachu being able to do some stuff off stage, killing Roy early. That's not the craziest thing in the world to see, but I definitely think that MK Leo kept it very close, considering that this is really the first time we've seen him play Roy in tournament. But nonetheless, it was still impressive to see ShinyMark beat MK Leo, obviously a player of that caliber. No matter who he's playing, it is a tournament, he's obviously trying to win, and so I think it's impressive either way. I don't think ShinyMark's run to get to top 8 was too crazy, really, aside from having to beat Leo. But again, it was the Leo Roy, so I do think that kind of helped, ShinyMark in his favor a little bit there. But aside from that, the run getting to top 8 was really not too bad for him. Now that being said, I do think that ShinyMark's run in top 8 was very impressive. He ended up beating MK Big Boss, which is obviously a really good Rob player, but more impressively, he ended up beating Shattuck in winners finals, and Shattuck has really been on a run lately. All the tournaments he's been going to, he's been doing really well, he's been winning them, and he really kind of seems like that next player that's on the rise to being, top 5 in the world, top 3 in the world, possibly one day. I definitely think he's kind of on his way towards that. So being able to beat him in winners finals and kind of hold that winner side in grand finals, very, very impressive. Because up to that point, Shattuck's run was pretty flawless. I think he dropped maybe 1 or 2 games to people, and it honestly was kind of looking like his tournament to lose, and that's exactly what happened. After losing to ShinyMark, Shattuck would have to face off against Onin in losers finals, and Onin would obviously win that to move up to grand finals, which meant that we got ShinyMark versus Onin, obviously a really, really good Steve player. Now with Onin, he's one of those players where I feel like anytime you see his name still active in the bracket, he always has a chance to win the whole event. Whether he's in winners or losers, it really doesn't matter. I feel like he's one of those players that always has a chance to win. Even when he loses sets, I feel like it's usually pretty close. I mean, obviously there's times where he'll get 3-0'd or whatever, but that doesn't happen too often. So the fact of the matter is, you got Onin coming from losers up against ShinyMark, and Steve, Pikachu, Steve always has a chance, so I kind of thought going into this that Onin would actually reset the bracket, and he got very, very close to that. It came down to the wire in Game 5, and ShinyMark was able to clutch it out with the down smash. I thought it was going to hit the block, but he ended up picking up the kill there and winning the tournament. Now, part of the reason why I wanted to highlight ShinyMark's win from this past weekend in the video is because Pikachu has been kind of in a weird spot lately. This is a character that I feel like everybody has had at the top of the tier list since Ultimate came out because of his potential, but over time I feel like the hype has kind of died down because we really don't see a whole lot of top player representation outside of Esam and ShinyMark. But Esam, his results have been kind of going down, and ShinyMark has been kind of inactive, so we really don't see a lot of this character. It's like we all kind of know Pikachu is really good, so we have to kind of put him up there on the tier list, but we really don't see the results to kind of back it up. I do think that ShinyMark has proven to be the best Pikachu in the world for a while now, but I do think that these wins this past weekend definitely helps the case even more. And I'm really hoping that we get to see more of ShinyMark at upcoming events because he really hasn't hasn't been that active lately. I think he definitely has the potential to compete with some of the best in the world. He definitely proved that, and I feel like he has the potential to really kind of show us what Pikachu can do. I mean, it's kind of crazy. I feel like we're seeing more Pichu results than Pikachu, and Pikachu is miles above Pichu ever since Pichu got nerfed. That being said, let me know if you guys enjoyed seeing Pikachu pop off this past weekend. I know we typically don't see this character do well at tournaments. Really, we don't see this character at all, I feel like, at tournaments. So I always think it's cool when we see a character like this win an event, especially over like really good players. And again, this technically was not a major, but I mean, it pretty much is. It's one of those smaller events that was like really stacked, you know what I mean? So regardless, in order to win this event, you guys have to beat some really good players. And on top of that, I will never complain about watching Steve lose a tournament. But again, go ahead and let me know in the comments how you guys feel. And while you're down there, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It helps me out a ton. And also let me know what characters you want me to talk about more. There's a lot of characters in this game and a lot of characters that are just kind of, you know, ignored because they're either bad or nobody plays them. So I'd love to talk about some more characters that we really don't get to see too often. But yeah, that's about it for this video. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will catch you all in the next one.